trusted counselor, a guide, a tutor, and a coach. Next slide. What that next slide says, even mine is not clear. Tom, mentoring is more than, what's that? Encouraging people to be just like you. So, next slide. Now, the story I've just told now, I think I made it more clearer. The origin of the practice of mentorship are lost in antiquity, but the word itself was inspired by the character of mentor in Homer's Odyssey. In the classical work, Odysseus entrusted the care and guidance of his son Telemachus to his friend Mentor. The goddess Athena was privy to this arrangement, seeing that Mentor was an old and incompetent mentor, assumed his appearance and responsibility to guide the young man in his moment of great need. Though Mentor was in reality impersonated, his name gave this classic relationship his name, mentoring. And so what is mentoring? Mentoring systems are designed to promote professional development by linking an employee with a mentor who will focus on the overall development of the mentee. It involves much more than simply acquiring specific skill and knowledge. It's about a relationship and involve both the professional and personality development through counseling. Next slide. Now, usually in structuring mentoring relationships, specific learning goals and competencies may be used. Like I said, it involves also helping someone to understand how do you balance your work life. You are a great leader. You made so much impact. How do you manage through when you are raising your kids and all of that? How do you develop your self-confidence that you are so bold, that you are so respected, that you are not removed in spite of your being audacious? Self-perception, how do you, have more confidence in your capacity and all? Then how do you balance your personal interest with your professional interest without creating conflict? Now, so mentoring is always a long-term, very long term, to be successful in creating required learning and building a culture of change. Mentoring is development-oriented to develop the individual, and the critical element in the design I've checklisted. Strategic purpose for mentoring, focus areas in the relationship, specific mentoring model. There are so many, there are a few models, including reverse mentoring, where younger people who are more savvy in social media, for example, can mentor older people so that they develop their digital capacity. The specific components will guide relationship along the process. So I've also stated some of the guidelines that I think are critical, which I think we can look at because of our time. Next, in drafting up a mentoring contract, I've also highlighted what are the expectations, what do you want to achieve as a mentee, as a mentor, how you need, when you sit together, next slide, to talk about, now you want to meet your mentor. What do you talk about? How do you choose mentors? Why did you become a mentee to a specific mentors and all of that? Now, I also, in the next slide, highlighted 10 competencies that mentors must have, and of course, what critical mentoring contract should seek to achieve. I also did a checklist in preparing the first meeting of mentor and mentee. I also highlighted mentee personal development plan. I'm going this way because I'm more interested in the succession planning, which embeds this. So you can look at this after. Lastly, please go on. Now, this is the critical success factors. continuous follow-up and feedback in a mentoring process. Next slide. Now, let me go to the meat of the presentation. Succession planning. You see, one thing I discovered in the literature is that the model in most universities, and I think the last registrar fit that model. That's to say that sometimes positions are filled from outside rather than growing people from inside. So succession planning could be as basic as emergency response plan for sudden loss of top managers due to unplanned resignation. It could also be in a more organized and a framework for developing replacement for senior position upon the planned departure of the incumbent. While succession plan could entail talent hunts for outside hires, succession plan commonly places emphasis on the development of internal successor candidates. Methodology usually involves a mix of training, mentoring, coaching, higher responsibility positioning in anticipation of candidates' advancement. That is, you are put on special projects. I can see that one critical next step to being registrar in the University of Ibadan is to be secretary to the College of Medicine. I mean, that's my deduction. Now, are there equivalent role and positioning that requires such responsibility as could prepare someone for registrar's position? Now, let's look at some helpful perspective. Going by evidence in the literature, succession planning in higher education institution is a fairly new phenomenon. There is a study by one Professor Hua of the University of Pennsylvania categorically reported that among the Ivy League universities, the elite universities, none had implemented, that is as far as I think 2010. So I'm sure there will have been progression after then. Why is this so? Why is it that succession planning is not popular in higher education and university? It is not popular in university due to the fact that the governance and governance of the university has been proven, and we have heard it today, that, for example, in the private sector, it is almost predictable the kind of skills. It's not just about observation. There are some training, there are some core competencies you must have before you can aspire to specific positions. And these are not only for you to structure, it is for the industry itself, as higher education industry, to structure those competencies into competency framework and competency catalog. And you must have professional gatekeepers that take you through those progressions. So, for example, in the federal service, and I'm sure maybe it has applied in university, you cannot be boss if you are not chartered accountant. I don't know, but at least in the federal service, you cannot be an assistant director. Accounts without being chartered. So should we apply to different competencies that run? Some suggested that succession planning is not popular because in the universities generally, in terms of succession, emphasis is more on academic than non-academic. For example, one best practice in the university that we all embrace in the public sector is sabbatical, leave of absence, which is a strategy for preventing inbreeding. What you do is you go to another university, you learn culture, and come back to implement it in your department. I know in the social sciences, when I was writing the biography of late Professor Ojetunji Aboyade, I knew that they were so conscious of inbreeding that they send people to different traditions, specifically to enrich the faculty when they were deans and heads of department. So there is also the issue of, I've talked about poor professional certification opportunities. It is also said that because of the professional antipathy between academics and the real leadership, which are the academics in the, between academics and the non-academics, the administrator, that dynamic and there is almost in some university a tendency to favor external hiring, for most top positions. The trend has been noted to have costly drawback or motivation for worthy internal candidates who are invariably disenfranchised. We have looked at our old veteran here who was stuck as deputy, I don't know what title it was, but the vacancy was just not declared, and she was there, and she had to retire. And that happened in federal service also in some sense. The catch is this. A university that does not have strong incentive and institutional commitment to staff, professional development, and career growth is unlikely to attract more professionals, especially when they move to competitive climate. Any institution that will therefore be able to take charge of the future must rethink its people issue, that's the HR, and the dynamic that shape them, by removing the cultural roadblock that stand in the way of leadership pipelining, talent management, and succession planning. What then must UI do? What must you change at UI to establish a culture of succession planning? First, succession planning must be integrated into your strategic plan. Succession planning must go beyond simply identifying internal leaders through shortlisting. The system must establish a broad strategic roadmap for future leadership development and talent management in the university. This will include creating dedicated budget for building new leaders. This suggests that in the university staff performance appraisal, leadership competencies will be one of those that is assessed. Next slide. To take further the architecture for succession planning, 4 things must then happen. There must be a system of utilizing data for performance assessment to identify potential leaders. In fact, in a proper system, and some of the Ivy League that I looked at, most of people who will be registrars, who will be bursars, who will be are already known before they get to their penultimate stage in the career because of some attribute and what their report and assessment was saying. The system must anticipate vacancy through manpower planning and forecasting scheme operated without that's a good one. I was rushing too much there. We establish protocol for finding replacement. Succession plan must ensure a smooth transition so that new leaders get to assume responsibility on a positive, productive start point. Now, that's to say, you cannot move an institution that is big forward like we do in Nigeria. You only get to know you will be the new head of service of the federation, a new permanent secretary, or a new registrar and all. Only on one day announcement. And you spend the next 6 months strategizing on how to implement your agenda. If you have a succession plan, a proper succession plan, whoever will be registrar would have known at least 6 months to the appointment. So you're already sitting with the outgoing person to plan. That has its own risk, which I'll mention now. It should be possible that on the day you are inaugurated, you are actually delivering your inaugural letter, your plan. If you can start that tradition, you would have really created an incentive that will really help you in going into world-class stage. So how do you implement succession plans? Current leadership must receive support from management, that's the university, enough to desire to champion. First of all, you cannot implement succession only for registry. Succession must almost be like a university tradition. Maybe save for vice chancellor that is selected on election, shortlisting of 3 people, and the visitor approving and all of that. Until that changes, there must be a buying of members of any constituencies which will normally be represented in such committees. Because what I've seen in the literature is that when the position of a registrar in most high-performing universities will be vacant, they will set up a search committee. It is a search committee that will then be assessing possible replacements and advise the vice chancellor and the management and the senate on who to approve and cancel. The design of succession planning must be an integral part of corporate strategy and therefore tailored to university's particular need. It must reflect institutional characteristics of your university. Yeah, thank you. It must reflect the way the university is organized, the career progression of staff, how do they move along the career ladder, which position the succession plan is designed to supply. Succession plan don't necessarily have to attend to all positions. What program or structure are already in place that may need to be incorporated in succession plan? Professional profile of university staff on post at a particular level in the university that give people almost like 10 years. It should be possible to provide all possible future leaders by rank and begin to see to their personal development. Indeed, what I found in literature is that in most universities and in most organizations, the registrar and the deputy registrar in the leading universities are on A+ rating. So you have a collegial system of deputy working under the chair of that are top rated. Because to get to that level, there had been a whole lot of screening. Indeed, succession planning will be most difficult to implement if the university does not have good demographic data on its key post. Understanding and projection of future business needs. Again, I've talked about you need to do a scenario analysis, and myself and registrar will talk about it. In what direction do you want the university to go? If it must follow, it looks like the same fate bedevils all universities in Nigeria. If a university will be an outlier, break out of that mode, what do you need to do? Project the competencies that will help you to manage that trajectory. That's what I call projection of the future business need of the university. The question of what issues will define the operations. That will require a lot of experimental scanning, some measure of understanding of what drives university and future defining parameters, among others, will be critical in all of that. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Why a formal succession planning is most essential. The plan must, however, have built-in flexibility to allow for contingency planning to incorporate changes. So as business planning is an ongoing, so I've said it now, what if in the middle of Mrs. Faluyi's tenure, the university has to move into a market-driven system where it has to begin to really market itself in order to recover its cost. You know, and all of those dynamics implementing actively a new trajectory. So your business or strategic plan must then be flexible for you to be able to do contingency planning. How then do you identify your future leaders? Apart from assessment reports, commendation letters and recommendations, periodic HR review meetings, registrars should be able to sit down at least once or twice a year to simply do an assessment of his own staff. You know, who are those that are doing something unique? What matters? And it is in those meetings they are determining who will be given some kind of award and all of that. It is this that helps you to begin your leadership pipelining. You have to have open discussion of your senior staff at those review meetings, specific career development action plan like job promotion, transfers, acting appointment decisions, while staff are encouraged to pursue their own self-development. There also must be a system of updating this data on a continuous basis. HR experts would advise that such assessment need experts, as high performance in some lower position does not mean you will perform better at a higher position. Okay, thank you. So otherwise impressive internal candidate may not measure up to the competency profile of higher position at the present part of this role of the succession product. But if competently managed, that's why you have to prepare people for higher level. There are some people, they are very good, very diligent, they are up to the details and all. But when they get to leadership position, they may not have emotional intelligence. They may not know. I will just quickly cite an instance where I did an assessment. Even, I think I was just an assistant director at that time in the federal service. But I was secretary to a panel where some permanent secretaries were being assessed. And one person who we regarded as one of the very best directors in the federal service at the time was rejected because he has a tendency of making secretaries and personal staff to lord over the boss's subordinates. Somebody just sent him that. So they then asked, and they discovered that that was one weakness he has. He made secretary almost to be gods. You know, you discover that the deputy registrar is coming to see registrar. You have to please the secretary before you can enter. You know, those are leadership attributes that can be identified early on, and people can be encouraged where there is communication. But where there is no communication, it is only when you want to be assessed that they will become obvious. Some of them are not clear to you. And all. How effectively this achieved defined result is a function of the strength of the assessment system that you are deploying. If effective modes of performance assessment are in place, implementing this will be an important preliminary. Apart from supervisor's assessment, such assessment as 360-degree evaluation, which collects input from candidates' peers and direct reports have been tested to be reliable. There is, however, the succession planning worksheet, which indicates such indices as risk of candidates' existing current position recommended successors. For example, some people are occupying posts and you need to progress them, but you find it very difficult to find replacement for them. Future position and some other elements. The important thing, critical success factor in succession planning is that it must be transparent and candidates must be involved. So management communication is a key to succession planning success, but the involvement of candidates in the process need not be handled. It has to be handled with great wisdom, because most places where succession planning are implemented, you have what we call the heir apparent syndrome. They will say, these are the king-to-be. This should be prevented as much as possible. And the solution to that is to ensure that at every point in time there is a team of well-suited successors rather than one successor to a post. Let it be a number. Because immediately you make it that the successor is almost like parading himself, and it's almost like then you are creating a very serious crisis for the organization. So rather than selecting an individual to succeed to a position, a pool of qualified successors is encouraged, while developmental programs are devised to facilitate leadership growth in all of them. By developing group of high preferential successor to position, the university must create the chance for the emergence of the best successor candidates. These high preferential successors are then taken through program development plan, which is usually a mix of work assignment, coaching, courses, and seminars. Such job work assignments are usually stretch assignments. I recall participating in a program in the World Bank, Washington, where star potential permanent secretaries were taken through some training. But I discovered that we are not even anything close to what India does. India almost like take you through different levels before you can become, so that when you really get to your position, you are more than prepared. Then there must be annual review of the succession plan itself to prevent a situation where implementation becomes vague and open-ended. An annual report is essential. Such reports will provide statistics such as the number of successors who assumed job for which they were targeted, and the number of jobs filled from a pool of candidates or number of candidates who have completed developmental program. In conclusion, my conclusion simply summarizes how mentoring connects with succession plan. How does mentoring fit into the process of preparing people to step into new roles when their colleagues exit, retire, or move to new roles? Documented experience has proven that an effective mentoring program can enrich the succession planning process and is indeed used to strengthen organizational succession pipelining. Mentoring creates a learning environment, and if individual and collective competencies is the strength of an organization, it creates institutional memory through skills transfer, so that whoever are the star bosses, we ensure that they duplicate themselves before they leave in critical competencies that make them strong. It enables capacity readiness assessment. It also helps you to take more interest in who becomes the leaders and make sure that their capability readiness, their capacity readiness is the key. It's a strong tool for preparing talented people to learn new skills and gain experience. Employees that are benefiting from strong mentoring program, research has proven, are more loyal and engaged with the university and are more likely to be willing to stay, thus reducing staff turnover rate when you are in competitive atmosphere. Before deploying succession planning as a policy, do sufficient risk assessment and be properly guided by HR professionals. Last slide. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Olapa spent 44.5 minutes. Let's give him a round of applause. Well, if you had allowed him to speak on and on, I know he would spend 2 hours. So I put him on edge. I'm so sorry, sir. Well, we have 10 minutes to do justice to question and answers, and if there are comments. And to chair this session is our home, our guy in council, someone who is our employer, the Deputy Registrar Council, Mr. Ibukun Akimbola.
First and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Tuji Olaupa for presentation. Some years back, I had the opportunity to attend the conference of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors in Abuja. And Dr. Tuji Olaupa was one of the resource persons. The presentation then was well loaded and well delivered. Today is not different. A round of applause for Dr. Olaupa. Basically, he has made us to understand that succession planning and mentoring are fundamental to the university business in order to provide the kind of human resources that the university needs to spearhead sustainable development. Sir, I know that you have been talking this morning. I will have agreed that we will not bother you again, because I believe that the whole house is agreeing with your presentation. But it is already stated here that there is time for questions, comments, and answers. Therefore, I will request for 2 or 3 questions, provided there is a female among those people that will ask the question. We will make it 3. Thank you.
Okay, we want 3, and the first person will be a female. You know, I like women. So, a female first. If I want 2 females. Yes, I'm the MC. 1, unless you don't have 2 females, then I will give, yes, 1. Okay, the first female, 1, 2. Let's come this way. Okay, Mr. Albo, 3. Mr. Kindle, you have asked the question before.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Olaipa. Olaipa. Stella Tuyemi from College of Medicine, Hematology Department. My question does was, first I want to request that the materials that we have used, wants a copy of those materials, sir, from the case speakers. Then my question goes thus. One is, now you're talking about mentoring. Now, as this program has been, this summit is here, we want the summit to continue, maybe to be taken twice yearly, and for the management also to be part of this program, so that they will know that mentoring is very important to the young staff that are coming up. 2, I want to talk about the professional career. I want to appreciate the management for making, for granting the staffs the ability to proceed on careers. But what are they now doing to make them useful, to be productive in their respective career that they have learned? Also, I want to talk about successive planning. I can remember some years ago.
You have 15 seconds more.
Someone retired. I was repairing telephone in my department, and immediately he retired. There was no replacement, and before you know it, all the telephone services. So what are the management doing so that there will be a successor, someone that will be replaced immediately, or someone that will have to go through that training, so that when someone retires, there will be a replacement. Thank you very much.
Hello, Auntie. Please, you have 30 seconds.
I want to appreciate the lecturer, and I want to quote from a statement that universities that do not provide homegrown talent and create incentive for its staff will lose well-trained staff to other universities. I would have loved that the university administrators are here, but at least the registrar is here. I cannot speak for other professionals, but I want to speak for my profession. That's the technologist cadre. We have some problem now because some other universities have implemented counties 14, 15 for the technologist cadre. And if care is not taken, in the next couple of years, we'll lose well-trained technologists in this system to them. Not only that, University of Ibadan started the training of technologists in Nigeria. And as at now, that school has been closed down. Not only that, all other universities have started. They are awarding BSc, BTech in science laboratory technology. And we depend on them to train our technologists for us, which is against the succession plan. What are you going to do, ma? I know it's a great challenge, but I believe God will help you. Thank you, ma.
Thank you. Please, with the kind permission of the chair, let's add two more. Please, the man raising his hand. Then one here. I think somebody raised. Mr. Kindele, you have asked a question before. Mr. Obo.
Thank you, sir.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, I just want to ask a question about two types of boss. If we have a bossy boss, the one that is always bossy, and based on our little experience we have gathered, and we discover that things are not done the way it ought to be done, and is trying to force it that we should do it, and it's our oga, we cannot pay him. But we know, based on various departments we have worked, that this is not the way it ought to be done. What should we do? Then we have another type of boss, an aloof boss, that always like to do things on his own. He doesn't want your inputs. Maybe he considers you too low. Then how do we improve? A aloof boss, he doesn't engage you in anything. He believes you don't have anything on your head. He does not only you. That's the way he does his things. So what should we do, sir? Thank you.
Thank you. The last but not the least, Mr. Obo. Otherwise, we will sleep here. Seconds.
I want to join others in appreciating the fine delivery of the speaker. Well, I have some questions for the guest speaker. The succession plan, what do you think of government interference? Before now, before the military regime, there were this succession plan in both the ministries and even in the university system. But the advent of the military regime, they can bring anybody to lord it over you and all that and all that. So what do you think about government interference, knowing that the university system belongs to the government? Number two is that if you read the literature of Margaret, there's this elimination system which happened, and I think we are still very much in it. The black power, whatever, when they know that you are in the front line for succession, they get you eliminated in order to get there. What do you think, sir?
Thank you. Could you please bring the microphone and let the chair guide the speaker to, please, to Mr. Akimbola. Okay, you may ask
I think
answer the questions, sir.
the people have asked questions, and I will enjoy the
Speaker.
Dr. Olapato response. Between the registrar and the it appears the registrar wants you to handle the questions. Don't worry, the registrar will take it up from where you stop.
I actually do not want to answer any of the questions, but I knew definitely that his presentation will generate a lot of questions. I even expected more, but maybe at the breakout sessions, these are food for thought for you. But from our own end, first let me appreciate the presenter. Your presentation, well delivered. Content on point. Your delivery method on point. And the way you carried the audience along was also on point. Thank you very much, sir. Reacting to the question by Mrs. Otuyemi of the College of Medicine concerning retired senior members of staff in the non-academic cadre. If you listened well when the presenter was making his presentation, he did mention that succession planning is more in the academic area than in the non-teaching. And I quickly sent a signal to our rapporteurs that they should note that, because these are things that we will expect you to discuss and bring up a blueprint on that matter. And let me tell you, Mr. Albo mentioned something now about government intervention. Before, our appointments don't used to go outside of the university. But now, before you will even appoint an office assistant, it has to go through the office of the Accountant General. So you have to budget. You have to put it, for those that will be employed in 2019, we already have them in the budget of 2018. So when you think of somebody is going to retire, a secretary is going to retire in a department, and who is going to take over? It is in the era of those days that we have excesses, we have staff in the pool, that when somebody is going on leave or somebody is retiring, you then ask establishment office to post somebody to relieve even when somebody is going on leave. But that is not the case anymore. Now when you relate it to succession planning, the kind of succession planning we're looking at is that when people are not there, we have others who also have the same skill set as you do, so that the gap, the vacuum is not created in any way. But like you have said, it is not only an issue for management to tackle. That is why we are here at this summit. So we are all going to discuss it and then provide solutions to the problem. Then for the technologists, let me say that there are procedures. If you are bringing something on board, we have what we call the council. If you don't take it through the proper channel, it will be a mirage. So if you come to this summit and you are talking about people poaching us, they will continue to do that. But if you follow the due process, Contis 14 will not just come to your table. It has to go through some processes. And then let me round up by saying that training of technologists, we remember in those days of LTTS. And in this same university, daytime, we will run when we hear gunshots. Mr. Ajayi will still remember very well. And that was how the program was scrapped. Because when students, regular students, are in the classrooms taking lectures, LTTS students are busy sleeping in the halls of residence because their program is a part-time program. And they have enough time to get themselves involved in unionism, and it became something else. But it is something that we can also look. It can come from your association. You can bring up a position paper on that, and I'm sure we have more than enough technologies and enough hands to take care of that. Thank you very much.
My colleague and sister from College of Medicine, how do you, okay, I mean, those are challenges to also the management. It's another thing to be exposed, and that's my understanding of your core question. It's another thing to go and learn new skills and competencies. It's another thing for you to be able to return to your department and be able to use it on job, which is a thing that management, again, how you overcome that theoretically, if you will, is that training should be needs assessment driven. If you send somebody based on the requirement of present job, what they are doing now, and you are improving, or maybe new innovation that you are bringing about, then it's most likely that their skills will be useful when they return. But one thing I also want to encourage you is that, and that helps me a lot, especially if you have seen a lot of my publications, there is nothing wrong in knowing a whole lot of things that tomorrow may require of you. So learning, out of the box sometimes can be useful. The whole issue of losing the challenge that you mentioned in the technology space is a peculiar need that the leaders in your departments must be able to champion. You cannot be a leader in a field and discover that some other lesser players are really beginning to dictate the trajectory in the industry. These are internal professional issues that you must settle. Again, those are specific to specific challenge that you face. Now, the one on government interference, really, it is a Nigerian crisis that is difficult to theorize about because it depends on who is moving what. But what I have seen worked, having worked in Ministry of Education and advisor to two ministers, is that a university that wants to preserve a bit of its tradition regarding positions should make use of its influential champions very well. For example, for every post that you are posting that requires endorsement of the Federal Ministry of Education or whatever, do a detailed specification of the requirement of that job. Detail how you have prepared people for those posts and how a disruption to your internal program will create a negative side effect for you. Most likely, those who write your memo will look at this. And when they see such, they may think twice before imposing people on you. The other thing that people do is that they use the influence of their governing council members, who are usually friends of government, and make sure that a bit of your tradition is preserved. But again, this may be significant, this may not be significant. All we are praying for is that maybe tomorrow we'll have a government that is more rational and that will give the universities sufficient environment. Again, one of those things that I saw in Ministry of Education is that even the universities themselves don't want that autonomy because there is so much internal competition, and some of the information that undermine universities are provided by that people who know people who are also members of the university. And that's it. Okay, I thought that was so, but there will be a stage where perhaps the university will be so focused on where it's going. And when I was writing Professor Abayade's biography, he said to me that in their days, when a dean will emerge, all of them would almost point to the person who is next, because they already know the challenge of the moment and who is best. And that's almost like fits into very many things. But again, we know that the nation has moved on and the parameters and the values have changed. But within your own system, the registrar should create a seminar climate to look at every element that impacts on your performance and your productivity. Discuss it. Develop strategy to improve them. And that is how you can move on a change curve. I thank you.
Once again, I want to thank Dr. Tuji Olaupa. Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for him again. Aditona, please.
Thank you, sir. We are 1 hour, 10 minutes beyond schedule. However, we can make up for it by going for a lunch within 15-20 minutes. No, we have allotted 30 minutes, but 15-20 minutes. Then we want to, please, hold on for DR, please.
Well, Madam Registrar, we have arranged that lunch should be served while the participants are seated. Just bring out your meal ticket. You'll be served while you are seated. We also want to say that you take that opportunity to fall into your group. For Group 3, Dr. Moody is the group leader. For Group 1, Mr. Kimbola and all of that. So please check the list and fall into that group. You now start your group discussion from now. Initiate whatever you want to initiate, and then you will continue tomorrow. Please, I want to plead once again that we remain seated while we are served. I also want to seize this opportunity to appreciate you all. I must say that I'm very happy at the way we have conducted ourselves and have responded to instructions and have also asked questions. It shows that we are indeed the registry of the future. A round of applause for each one of us. So we will number the tables, and you'll be seated according to your group, and then you start the discussion. We have rapporteurs amongst us who will fit into the groups to also have your ideas, your suggestions for the way forward. Please, this is our program. I want to plead for your cooperation once again. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Please, let's encourage her. Give her a round of applause. Well, information is power. You have been informed. However, we have 6 rows. 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, syndicate group 1 will occupy the first column. Group 2, second column. Group 3, third column. Group 4, fourth column. Group 5, fifth column. Then group 6. So all you need to do is to identify your name and go to your group. I think that is simple.
Yes, I have one more information. Sorry, I want to quickly correct something I said a few minutes ago about the rapporteurs. Please, we expect the secretary and the group leader to come up with their own write-ups and submit to the rapporteurs. That would be better. Thank you.
Okay, each group is supposed to have a lead and a secretary. Okay, okay, the group leader can choose their secretary so that the two will know how to get their reports to the rapporteurs. Please just identify.